if you're planning to buy your first house, very often you don't really have a lot of idea what to look for in terms of picking out a neighborhood, picking out a location for your home. Also, even if it's not your first home, but you're planning to buy in a new subdivision where you don't see the streets yet and you can't really tell what the neighborhood is going to look like once it's completely built, sometimes you have difficulty picking the location of your home on a map. This video is for you. I'm going to go over what makes a location of the home either an asset or a liability for a house, because in real estate we have the saying location, location, location. Why do we say that? Because the price of the house and how quickly you can sell it if you need to sell it for some reason are often determined by the home location and proximity to certain elements. So let's look at this map and really quickly go over things that I would consider a positive or a negative. Let me pick a brush so I can show you negatives on this map and positives on this map. So let's just imagine that this is a map, Google map or a subdivision map for a builder. What would I look for if I was to advise you and if I was your agent? Let's first identify the main routes. So this seems to be the main route to this subdivision. What does it mean? It means that from this point in, a lot of people will be entering the subdivision. What does this mean for these homes right here? It means that there will be facing a very noisy street with people trying to get in and out of the subdivision, turning left and right. What did that mean for these people's noise level, congestion level around their home, their ability to park their vehicles on the side of the street, their kids' ability to go play ride bicycles around this corner? I would say that this would be potentially this whole swath of homes right here would be a negative location because they're exposed to a lot of environmental noise, dangers, and also people are constantly passing by their homes looking at them, and they're seeing the lights of the vehicles coming from this road at all times of the day and the night. Even at the depth of the night when they're trying to sleep, they're still seeing the lights of the vehicles coming through. So this would be for me, if you had a choice of a location, I would avoid this location. I would also identify additional routes. So for example, this seemed to be one of the major routes. I will be honestly advising you to avoid anything that's connected to this particular corner right here. Any other large entryway like this, so for example, this one, I would say avoid these guys. There seemed to be another entryway right here. So I would just cut out this from my consideration, this. So these ones I would actively stay away from. Next, so now that we have identified the ones that we are avoiding because of the congestion around those roads, let's look at other congestion centers in this neighborhood. So this is what I would call the traffic circle. A traffic circle is where a lot of cars take turns passing each other, right? So what happens to these guys' ability to park around this congestion circle? Because everybody's trying to find a way to get through the circle and pass their house. What's their parking looks like? If they have guests for Christmas, where are their guests going to be parking? There's just not going to be a lot of parking space available, and it is not quite as hazardous as being close to this big road, but still the traffic congestion, their kids not being able to ride bicycles around their home, this should be potentially a consideration for maybe avoiding these lots. Now, what other potential if you have a choice, where else would I advise you not to buy a lot on? I would say almost anywhere where there is a major through street. So a major through street, let's change colors so we have a little bit variation in the color. So this would be a major through street. And so is this, right? Why I would say this would be not my preferred location? Because almost anybody who needs to get in or out of this subdivision will have to pass your home. Now, this one is not quite so bad. The worst offenders would be here and here. So for example, this house, imagine how many people will try to have to turn left or right in front of their home every single 8 o'clock in the morning and 5 o'clock in the afternoon for the entire subdivision to trickle in to their own homes. So this particular house is going to experience a lot more traffic than, for example, this home. Would you agree? Depending on how sensitive you are to the road noise, people honking at each other, potentially lights from the cars in the dark, after dark, constantly shining into your windows, you might consider this to be a potential reason to avoid. So this, anytime you see this big intersection from which a lot of people will be coming, so let's just say that these people will have to take, again, it's already marked up, but I would avoid large streets like that because anybody almost who needs to get out of this exit will have to pass through these streets. Okay, so these ones I would avoid. Which ones would I actually not, which ones are located on the lots that I would actually advise you to consider? Anything inside of these circles, right? These are nice and quiet parts of the subdivision where people do not come unless they live in there. What did that means? It means less crime, right? Almost nobody will come through that street who doesn't belong on that street. Therefore, your kids would be safe, and when you're trying to resell the house in the future, your future buyers will see the street as a safe street, less hazardous street. Also, statistically, the fewer people see your home, the less likely it is going to be burglarized. So these ones I would definitely consider better purchases. So let's just imagine that you're at the builder's office and they're offering you a lot that cost $5,000 more here and $5,000 less here. If I was you, and I cannot make that decision for you, but if I was you, I would say spending $5,000 to buy a lot over here would probably be a wise investment because that $5,000 divided by, would add very little to your mortgage payment, but would add a big potential resale value several years down the road when these streets are completely built up and there is a lot of congestion coming in and out of the subdivision. And then when you're trying to resell, you suddenly discover that your house will resell faster and for potentially more money than a house located here or here. What are other areas that I would consider to be wonderful buys? Well, anything that butts up to a green belt. People love green belts. I don't know what's on the other side of this green belt. Well, let's assuming that there is nothing hazardous on that side of the green belt. If there is a busy road, how much screen do you have in terms of a greenery? But if it's just a small park or a green belt, or even better, let's just say there is some kind of a green area nearby, people who are going to buy here are going to secure a better lot than people who are going to buy here because just in general, most people prefer not to be quite so congested with other humans. And having access to a little bit of greenery allows them and their families and their kids to enjoy their quality of life a little bit more. Also, if you would look, so we're going to have some cul-de-sacs, right? So I would say cul-de-sacs are a good opportunity because it's a low crime. So let's just look at these homes right here. There is some kind of a green area like a park. There is a cul-de-sac and a lot of greenery around here. I would consider this to be a wonderful buy right here because people who are going to come through this road are going to be only people who are either going into one of these houses or who are going to this cul-de-sac, which means much lower crime, better security for your family, less traffic, less congestion. Also, in terms of parking, imagine that you had 9 friends over for dinner, each one of them taking an individual car. These friends could park right here and right here. On the other hand, if you had nine people for dinner, for Christmas dinner, and your house was right here, your parking options would be extremely limited. And your guests might have to carpool. That's about it for now. I could probably go on and on and on about different locations. Also, I do not know what this is, but let's imagine for a second that this was a school. I do not know if that's a school on this map, but let's imagine it was a school. I would say that you would want to be if you had a chance, being closer to a school could potentially increase your resale value later because families who will be buying your house after you're moving somewhere else potentially have small kids or kids who want to walk to the school or their parents want to walk them to the school. Being able to walk your kid to a school without having to take a 4-mile trek could potentially be an upside for them. But don't be so close to the school that you're right against school. So for me, these homes right here are a little too close. Why? Because there's a lot of traffic. There is the school buses. There are people parked on each side of the street trying to get their kids in and out of the car. To me, that's a lot of congestion in front of my house. If I want to enjoy my peace and quiet, I may not be able to until the school is started. That's it for now. If you have any questions about different locations in which you consider buying, and you want to get my opinion on whether or not you should buy in that location or in this location, let me know. Also, if I have not covered anything, let me know as well. My name is Elena Garrett, and I am a realtor with Keller Williams Central in the Dallas-Fort Worth area of Texas, and I'm here to serve your real estate needs, whatever they are. Thank you so much, and see you next